Hi, my name is Valerie Parente, and I'm going to do a poetry reading from my collection, The Artist, the Muse. And I was just looking through to see if I could pick out some stuff ahead of time, and I did see this poem, Grandiosity of the Sick, which is from, 2016, April of 2016. So it's pretty old. And Grandiosity of the Sick, this is the picture that goes with it. Hard to see. All right, I'll just read it and then we can analyze it. So, Grandiosity of the Sick. When retention of information is censored through sanity, then attention from the psychologically challenged must rely on vanity. It is a self-centered way to overcompensate for what we lack in our mental state. I call it Grandiosity of the Sick, the glorified martyr heuristic, where those of us who struggle hone our inner pain through an art quite prone to become vain, thinking the anguish we feel is profound, as if to be miserable puts us on higher ground, saying those who reject our thought process don't understand because we're too complex. Creating beauty from our moping is a dangerous form of coping, because perceiving mental malfunctioning as our best can lead to believing we're only useful in our distress. But to call this warped mindset a stigma is not entirely fair, because what could be more admirable than finding comfort in how we're impaired? I don't think I've read this for 4 years. Is this blurry? There we go. Oh, it got blurry. Okay, so I have not read this for a very long time. It's definitely deeper than I remembered. I guess, yeah, so Grandiosity of the Sick, if I remember correctly, and from reading this, it's about my whole goal is to uncover the misconceptions of mental illness and make beauty out of it. And this Grandiosity of the Sick is about getting caught up in thinking mental illness is something that you need to identify with, and to get caught up in a mindset of thinking you are above other people because you have this weird mental disorder. It's getting caught up in grandiosity, thinking you are grander than you really are, getting very egotistical because you're so stuck on thinking of how you're different from people. And let's see, so let's go to different lines. It's the glorified martyr heuristic, however you say that word. Glorifying yourself for being in pain, dwelling on your pain, being a martyr is what that's about, literally. And then the next line, where those of us who struggle hone our inner pain through an art quite prone to become vain. So when you're someone like me who makes a lot of art based on mental disorder, you are making art particular to your mind. And when you make art particular to your mind, it can become, it's a lot of thinking about yourself in the whole day. So with art, it's like a nice outlet to let go, but when you're making it out of your own human experience, that's adding just another huge part of your day of thinking about yourself and being stuck in your own head. It's very, I know I said egotistical. It is. It's very full of yourself, and that's why it says it's an art quite prone to become vain. It is very vain to make art based on your mind and your ego and your soul. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it can become very vain, and sometimes you need to check yourself. Thinking the anguish we feel is profound, making beauty out of darkness. It's a good thing to do when you feel the darkness inside of you. It's not a good thing. There's a line between feeling pain and making art out of it to make something beautiful, and going out of your way to feel pain and to be a victim so that you can make beautiful art. The latter is not something you should do. I think the art is a coping mechanism for when you're in pain. I don't think it should be the goal. Of course, I love being an artist, but I do try to make art now that I'm older, I try to make art that isn't just based on pain, because what kind of life is that when you're, not that I'm monetizing off of it, because I'm not, at least I haven't in the past, but if you're monetizing off of or just gaining any popularity from the struggle that you've had, it's okay to a point, but you need to recognize that you deserve happiness at some point. Making yourself unhappy just to create art is not the route to go. It should just be, the art should be the coping mechanism for those times when you are in pain, but don't inflict pain on purpose. All right. As if to be miserable puts us on higher ground, saying those who reject our thought process don't understand because we're too complex. So full of yourself. It's very easy to get full of yourself when you have multiple mental illnesses that you're focusing on trying to treat and just rein in and deal with every day. It's easy to think when someone criticizes you or they don't understand you, it's easy to think you're on higher ground and think, oh, well, I'm just maybe not smart, but like I'm just too complex for them. My brain is beyond them. They're too black and white, simple-minded. They don't get it. It's a very haughty way of looking at life. So this is being very modest and talking about the downsides, and that's why it's called Grandiosity of the Sick. It's not glorifying it, even though the title is using the word grandiosity. There's the juxtaposition against grandiosity of the sick. Grandiosity is kind of glorifying something sick is degrading. So there's that mismatch in the title too, which I really like. Creating beauty from our moping is a dangerous form of coping. I already talked about that, but yeah, getting caught up in being negative to create something is not a good idea. Because perceiving mental malfunctioning as our best can lead to believing we're only useful in our distress. That's the key in this whole poem. So, perceiving mental malfunctioning as our best. Perceiving obsessive compulsive disorder, depression, anxiety is when you are at your best because you elicit rhymes out of the pain. Thinking that is you at your best is dangerous because it makes you think, as I already said, that you need to be in pain in order to create. And that is something I think a lot of artists deal with, where they don't want to get treatment for depression or any other mental illness because they think they're going to lose their creativity. They're going to lose what makes them so special. I've dealt with that fear, and I can promise treating your mental illness does not get rid of your creativity. I promise it doesn't. It makes you be able to focus on more than just suffering. It opens the door to a lot more. It enables more creativity. And it makes you think more clear-minded of, oh, maybe it's good to not be miserable all the time. And you will feel that way when you do actively treat things like depression, whether it's medication or therapy or any other form of therapy that's not just talking to a therapist, but also you could call it like art therapy, anything that's just getting your mind to be set free. So let's just read the end. But to call this warped mindset a stigma is not entirely fair, because what could be more admirable than finding comfort in how we're impaired? Again, ending it on a positive note. This whole thing is just telling you to be alert of getting too caught up in your own mental illness. It's not saying you're a bad guy for making beauty out of darkness. It's not saying you're grandiose and amazing for making beauty out of darkness. It's just telling you to keep an eye on it and not get caught up on it. And then that positive at the end is, yes, we are finding comfort from how we're impaired, but isn't that kind of beautiful? That kind of gets rid of the stigma that we're able to do that with our creativity. That's my thoughts in 2020 when I read this, which was written in 2016. All right, let's read something else. Grandiosity of the Sick is it reminds me a lot of the gargoyle mindset. Those poems remind me a lot of each other. Ooh, Glitter in the Air. I loved this when I wrote it. I don't remember like exactly. I just know that I really liked it. That's the art that goes with it. All right, Glitter in the Air. And this was 2017. Glitter in the Air. I told the star that I wanted to dedicate a fraction of myself to its bright soul. I preserved my time long before I ever laid eyes on that star. I spent 23 years cultivating emotions, memories, and wisdom, and waited until it felt right to share these qualities. Then, in the rain of my own eyes, I was denied. And I guess what I feel now is lost. I am lost in an immaculate dark forest under the most beautiful canopy of stars. Here I am trying to run away from a sadness surrounded by the sparkling night, and I cannot figure out if the glitter in the air is a sign to turn back around or a guiding light towards new territory. Can we guess what this is about? This is about being rejected. Yay! But okay, so glitter in the air. It's about the confusion when you are rejected, and this was in 2017, and it says I was 23. I spent 23 years cultivating emotions, memories, and wisdom, and waited until it felt right to share these qualities. Being someone who's shy, or at least growing up I was. I'm not as shy now that I'm older, but growing up being someone who was shy and who was very scared of intimacy and didn't want to date. You know, through high school, I didn't understand why people were dating. I didn't get it. I had no desire to do that. So being someone who spends 23 years of their life single, which is fine, and trying to just make themselves the best version of themselves so that when the day comes that they do want to share themselves with a person, they'll be proud. So for me, I spent 23 years cultivating emotions, memories, and wisdom, and waited until it felt right to share these qualities. You know, it's about wanting to be your best self before you have a partner. Then in the rain of my own eyes, I was denied, rejected. Once I finally, after a long time, finally thought, oh, this is the one, you get denied. And I guess what I feel now is lost. I am lost in an immaculate dark forest under the most beautiful canopy of stars. So that is about when you've gone a long time not feeling connection with other people and you finally feel love for someone. That's the beautiful canopy of stars. I think that's what this is referring to when I read it now. That's the beautiful canopy of stars, and in the darkness and the sadness of being rejected, you're still under the most beautiful sensation, because being able to feel love after being so lonely and miserable in your own head and mentally ill and focused on eating disorders and blah blah blah, being so able to feel a connection with someone else and care about someone else is so beautiful. It doesn't even matter that you were rejected. It's just the fact that you've gotten to a point where you can actually feel something for someone else when you were so selfish for so long and could barely feel anything for your own family because you were so wrapped up in your own mental illness. That's why, yes, it's dark, the rejection is dark, but you're under the most beautiful canopy of stars. You're under the influence of love. You finally felt that amazing connection. Here I am trying to run away from the sadness surrounded by the sparkling night, and I cannot figure out if the glitter in the air, the stars, is a sign to turn back around or a guiding light towards new territory. So at the time when this was written, that's just trying to figure out how to have this person in your life turn back around. Still trying to figure out if those stars, the shining light above you, is telling you, keep this person in your life anyways, turn back around, it's okay, or if it's just guiding you to a new path, and it's bright because you got this under your belt, you felt something for someone for the first time, now we're going to give you a new experience. You're a little older, a little wiser, and the light, this experience of knowing love, is the thing that's going to guide you. So that's what this was written in confusion, not understanding why it didn't work out at the time. But in hindsight, It all makes sense to me. It happened as it was meant to, definitely. I feel that way. And it's a little bit of both, I think. It's a little bit of, glitter in the air is a sign to turn back around, or is it a guiding light towards new territory? It was a little bit of both. Keeping the friend as a friend and going on and seeking out love with other people, moving on, but still keeping that friend. So that's what it is in hindsight when I think back of what this was about. All right, we'll read one more. Let's read She Could Not Master Astral Projection. That's the name of it. The girl with the mysophobia could not master astral projection. And in quotes, says, "This fear and this feeling of germ infestation tainting my skin locks me into physical awareness. To be so in touch with my material self blinds me to the ethereal possibilities of consciousness beyond the body. To open the mind to a realm that needs no space or time is impossible as long as this germ fear persists. And so it seems anxiety is the greatest barrier between us and the connection with our true essence." And that's the picture. That's deep. Okay, so astral projection. She could not master astral projection. If you don't know what astral projection is, it is another word, another phrase for an out-of-body experience. I have not had an out-of-body experience before. I have friends who have. I've heard people talk about it. I do think it is a real thing that can happen. It does happen a lot when people have a near-death experience, or sometimes people can get it, I think, when they're under the influence of a drug, or just, I know I have a friend who it just happened out of nowhere. So astral projection is an out-of-body experience where your consciousness, the thing that you are, your soul, you could argue, suspends out of your body, and you can see yourself from a third person point of view. Sometimes it feels like you're on the ceiling and you're looking down. That happens to a lot of people during surgery. Not a lot, but it can happen to people during surgery when they're unconscious. They will experience an astral projection event. There are some people who claim to master astral projection and be able to willingly do it. I have a person who I used to work with who said every night she would take a bath and she would astral project, which is crazy. It's so cool. So astral projection is that it's getting outside of yourself. It's an out-of-body experience. So this was commentary on me. The girl with mysophobia, that's germophobia. Mysophobia is a fear of germs, me, could not master astral projection. And I wrote out why I think that is. Why can't I have an out-of-body experience? Because it frustrates me, because I think that would be really cool, and I've always wanted it. I think it would scare the crap out of me, but I think it would be really, really cool. So I was wondering, why don't I ever get an astral projection moment? I'm so into that stuff. Spirituality, psychic phenomena, I'm so into that. Why hasn't it happened to me? So I was trying to dissect, why can't I have an out-of-body experience? And it came to me the realization that it's probably because I am hyper aware of my own body because I'm afraid of germs. And all touch in general, that's what In Touch is about, my novel. I am way too conscientious about everything that touches me and my physical body. So it goes into that. The girl says herself, this fear and this feeling of germ infestation tainting my skin locks me into physical awareness. Yes, that's matter of fact, that's true. To be so in touch with my material self blinds me to the ethereal possibilities of consciousness beyond the body. Again, self-explanatory. There's not much to analyze in that. That's just yes. To open the mind to a realm that needs no space or time is impossible as long as this germ fear persists. So that's my conclusion. That's what I think. If I had to guess why I'm unable to have that happen to me. And so it seems anxiety is I love this. Anxiety is the greatest barrier between us and connection with our true essence. I like that I came to that conclusion. It's interesting that I came to that conclusion. I feel like that was a good way to wrap it up and make it sound more all-inclusive so other people could understand this sensation. People who don't have a germ fear but just have general anxiety and can't feel true peace in themselves, which is referenced as connection with their true essence, your soul, which is, it lives in a state of peace, I believe. And so it seems anxiety is the greatest barrier between us and the connection with our true essence. Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb. I like that. I don't remember writing that. I like that though, because you could apply it to any anxiety. It doesn't have to be anxiety about germs. It could be social anxiety, or it could be anxiety that comes from food when you have an eating disorder. All these things that make you not your true self. It blinds you. It says it's the greatest barrier between you and your true self. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm sorry if I sound ignorant and like I'm surprised by some of these things, but this was so long ago and my brain is so jumbled and gets caught on loops and stuff that I tend to not realize. I tend to not remember nitty gritty details about what I have written until I look down at it. I'm like, oh yeah, I just have so much nonsense going on in there. All right. That was that. That was 3 poems, poetry/prose pieces. And if you want to buy The Artist, the Muse, you can buy it on Amazon.com. And you can look it up, The Artist, the Muse, and my name, Valerie Parente. Thank you. Bye.